The accident that taught us to measure time. Time once moved without names, without numbers, and without limits, flowing unnoticed because early humans lived inside moments rather than across them. To understand why measuring time changed everything, we must return to a world where days blurred together and survival depended on reacting, not planning. Early humans followed light and darkness instinctively, waking with the sun and resting when it vanished, guided by rhythms they felt but could not define. There was no concept of a week, a month, or a year. There was only now, and whatever came next. Seasons arrived without warning. Animals migrated unexpectedly. Food appeared and disappeared without explanation. Life was shaped by cycles, but no one yet understood why those cycles repeated. The world operated according to patterns that were invisible to minds focused entirely on immediate survival. Then humans began noticing patterns. Shadows stretched and shrank. The moon changed shape. Stars returned to the same places night after night. These were not discoveries made with intention, but observations born from waiting, watching, and surviving. The act of paying attention, repeated across countless generations, slowly transformed instinct into awareness. At first, these patterns held no meaning beyond curiosity. But slowly, humans realized that repetition could be trusted. If something returned, it could be anticipated. If it could be anticipated, it could be prepared for. This was the quiet beginning of timekeeping. Not clocks, not calendars, but awareness. Someone noticed that certain days were colder. Someone remembered that floods came after particular moons. Someone realized that planning too early or too late meant hunger. Memory began stretching forward. Time stopped being invisible. And once humans realized time could be observed, it became something they would try to understand. As awareness of time deepened, humans began anchoring life to its patterns, because once repetition could be trusted, it could also be organized around. The sun became a guide. Its rise and fall divided activity into before and after. Shadows marked passing hours, even when no one named them. The moon offered a longer rhythm, returning again and again, reliable enough to remember. These natural markers became the first reference points for a species that had never before thought about when things happened, only that they did. At first, these observations were informal and personal. Someone remembered when animals usually arrived. Someone else noticed when rivers swelled. Knowledge lived in experience, passed quietly through habit rather than instruction. But as communities grew, shared time became necessary. People needed to gather together, hunt together, plan together. Without agreement on when something happened, coordination failed. The larger the group, the more critical it became to align individual actions to a common rhythm. This pushed humans to formalize what they were already sensing. Stones were placed to track the sun. Marks were carved to count days. Objects became reference points for memory. Time slowly separated from instinct and became external. What had once been a private feeling became a shared structure, visible to everyone and anchored to physical markers that could not be disputed. Measuring time changed behavior. Waiting became purposeful. Preparation replaced reaction. The future began to feel reachable, not mysterious. Humans could plan harvest rituals, journeys, and defenses, but something else shifted as well. Once time could be measured, it could also be lost, wasted, missed. Moments gained value because they were no longer endless. A season that passed without preparation meant hunger. A migration that arrived before hunters were ready meant failure. Time introduced consequences for inattention. This introduced pressure. Deadlines emerged before they had names. Seasons felt shorter. Opportunities felt fragile. Time stopped being a background force and became something humans competed with. Still, humans continued refining it. Patterns turned into systems. Observation turned into prediction. Timekeeping became a tool of survival. Yet this growing precision carried an unexpected cost. Because when humans began measuring time, time began measuring them. As timekeeping became more precise, it stopped being a survival aid and started shaping human psychology. Because once time is divided, life begins to feel divided with it. Days gained structure. Tasks were assigned moments. Rituals were fixed dates. What once flowed naturally now followed expectation. Humans began living by schedules long before clocks existed. The rhythm of life shifted from something felt internally to something imposed externally, and that shift was irreversible. This created order, but also created anxiety. Missing the right moment could mean failure. Planting too early or too late could destroy a year's work. Time became something to obey. Power began attaching itself to time. Those who control calendars control labor, worship, and rest. Festivals, taxes, and obligations followed time-keeping systems, not personal readiness. The ability to define when events occurred gave certain individuals and institutions authority over the daily lives of entire populations. Time also changed how humans understood aging and mortality. When moments were counted, life felt finite in a new way. Birth and death gained numbers. Generations were compared. Progress could be measured. The awareness of limited time transformed not only how humans planned, but how they felt about their own existence. Writing reinforced this shift. Dates recorded events. History became ordered rather than remembered loosely. The past turned into a timeline instead of a story. But precision created conflict. Different groups measured time differently. Calendars disagreed. Sacred days clashed. Empires imposed their systems on others, forcing time itself to become political. The calendar became a tool of control, and disputes over how to measure the year reflected deeper struggles over whose authority would govern daily life. Yet humans could not abandon measurement. Predicting eclipses, floods, and seasons proved too valuable. Trade relied on timing. Agriculture demanded accuracy. Societies expanded because time could be coordinated. Still, something subtle was lost. Spontaneity faded. Living in the moment became harder. Life increasingly felt like it was moving towards something rather than existing now. Time had become a ruler, and humans were learning to live beneath it. The climax of measuring time was not the invention of clocks, but the moment humans allowed time to govern their lives. Because once moments were counted, they carried weight. Days could be wasted. Years could be lost. Lives could feel rushed or delayed, not by nature, but by numbers humans themselves created. Time transformed from a guide into a judge. It dictated when to work, when to rest, when to celebrate, and when to mourn. Entire societies synchronized their lives to invisible divisions, trusting the system more than instinct. Yet this same structure unlocked extraordinary progress. Timekeeping allowed civilizations to coordinate across vast distances. Ships navigated by stars. Scientists predicted eclipses. History unfolded in sequence instead of myth. The ability to measure time precisely became the foundation for navigation, science, commerce, and governance, each one depending on shared agreement about when events occurred. The paradox was unavoidable. Measuring time gave humans control over the future, but also pulled them out of the present. Life became something to manage rather than experience fully. Even today, this discovery defines us. We rush, schedule, count, and track, often forgetting that time was once something humans felt, not something they chased. What began as simple observation became a framework for existence itself. Time taught humans how to plan, and then taught them how to hurry. So what do you think? Are we still mastering time, or has time mastered us? He asks